There's a lot to unpack here, so let's start at the beginning. How did director Joshua Oppenheimer, who was at the time a completely unknown filmmaker from Texas, end up collaborating with perpetrators of a genocide in Indonesia? In 2001, Oppenheimer and filmmaker Christine Sin set out for Sumatra, Indonesia, with the hope of improving working conditions on a Belgian-owned palm oil plantation. They brought camera equipment and taught the workers how to film. The result was a documentary called The Globalization Tapes. As he got to know the workers on this plantation, it became clear that they were living in truly atrocious conditions, and that these conditions were a symptom of something pervasive across the entire country.
The company would have the women workers spray a weed killer around the palm trees, the oil palm trees, and with no protective clothing, no masks, no gloves, the mist would go into their lungs, then into their bloodstreams, and destroy their liver tissue. And the women were dying in their 40s. And when they would complain to the company petitioning for protective clothing, the company would hire thugs from a movement called Pancasila Youth that had in fact been involved with the killings in 1965. They'd hire thugs to threaten and sometimes attack the women. And the women were easily intimidated, easily threatened, because their parents and grandparents had been in a union until 1965, had been accused of being communist sympathizers simply because they were in a union and had been killed. They were afraid this could happen again.
The Rubber Workers Union was communist-run, so after the coup, many of them were killed or imprisoned. Some of the survivors, you see them here, still work the rubber, but this time as prisoners and at gunpoint. The different islands deal with the communist survivors in various ways. In some camps, they are starved to death or released periodically to be killed by the local citizens. Ted Yates, NBC News, reporting.
Kenapa, Pak? Keturunan dan juga keluarga PKI yang dibunuh tidak pernah melakukan balas dendam, Pak?
Sampai saat sekarang, mereka bukan tidak mau membalas dendam. Belum ada kesempatan mereka untuk itu.
Ya, kita akan basmi semuanya.
After stumbling into this society where a genocide had been effective and the perpetrators were still in power, Oppenheimer came to a realization.
Normally, perpetrators of mass violence win. That's why they do it, because it's effective. They write victors' history, celebrating what they've done. They glorify it. We as human beings deceive ourselves about the meaning of our actions, and I knew at that point I would spend as many years as it would take to address this situation.
And many years it did take, roughly a decade. Because once he set his mind on making these films, he immediately ran into a problem. How do you make a film about crimes against humanity when the perpetrators are still in power?
The army threatened all of the survivors not to participate in the film. And everybody said, don't quit, don't go home, don't give up, try to film the perpetrators. See if they will tell you how they killed our relatives. I was afraid to do that at first, but when I did, I found, to my horror, that all of them were immediately boastful about the worst details of the killings, which they would recount with smiles on their faces in front of their wives and their children, even their small grandchildren. Then they would usually invite me to where they killed if they were imaginative enough to do so. They'd bring along weapons to use as props. They'd bring friends to play victims and reenact, figuring that it's a film. They should show what they did, not just tell about it.
These impromptu performances by the perpetrators sparked an idea in Oppenheimer. An idea that reveals his approach to filmmaking and his ultimate goal in making the mass killing.
I started with this premise. I said, okay, you participated in one of the biggest killings in human history. I could be that open with them because they were that open with me. I want to know what it means to you and to your society. You want to show me what you've done. So show me what you think. In whatever way you wish, I will film the process, but I will film your reenactments, but I will also film you and your friends talking about what you want to show, what you don't want to show, and combine these things to create a documentary of the imagination.
He creates an environment in which the inner dreams, desires, and justification of the perpetrator can be made visible. It's not about what happened in 1965 per se, it's about how the perpetrators want to be seen today, and and how they see themselves.
I think documentary in English implies a kind of transparent window onto a pre-existing world that you document. And I think that's not, I see my films as interventions that I make in collaboration with other people. That all, I feel like whenever we film anybody, we are creating reality. And a fly-on-the-wall documentary, a so-called fly-on-the-wall documentary, simply creates, is a collaboration between filmmaker and subject where they create a reality in which they pretend the camera is not present.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Oppenheimer studied theoretical physics before he switched to filmmaking, and not just because his name is Oppenheimer. The way that he describes this collaboration between filmmaker and subject feels analogous to the measurement problem in quantum physics. When particles are not being observed, they behave like a wave, but as soon as they're observed, they take on definite values in the form of individual particles. Similarly, as much as a filmmaker might want to document reality as it really is, a person's behavior will inevitably change if they are being observed by the camera. And so the goal isn't to pretend the camera doesn't exist, but to create an environment that will allow the subject to play the character that they play.
The great moments in nonfiction cinema always happen when you create a context, an occasion, together with your participants, where they're put in a situation which is safe, because otherwise you would hopefully not do it, somehow safe, but takes them out of their comfort zone and puts everybody somehow out of control.
So how does Oppenheimer do this? First, he chose one perpetrator, Anwar Khanna, and hyper-focused on him, delving deeper and deeper into his psychology. Anwar doesn't have any particular significance in the grand scheme of things. He's just one of many low-level gangsters who were hired to carry out killings. In fact, Oppenheimer had filmed him for 2 years with 40 other perpetrators before he ever met Anwar.
The 41st perpetrator I filmed was Anwar Congo, the main character in the act of killing. I met him at the end of that 2-year period. I lingered on him because his pain was right there on the surface. I saw that trauma, he was immediately talking about trauma and fear of ghosts. The first day I met him was the day he took me to the roof and dances the cha-cha-cha in the beginning of the act of killing. He dances the cha-cha-cha in the spot where he killed hundreds of people. And yet he said he does so in order to dispel, banish the pain that he's just felt by talking about the pig. He says, if I talk about this, it'll make me crazy. So forget all this. I've been going out drinking, taking drugs, dancing, look, I'll show you. That was the first time I realized that the boasting isn't a sign of pride, but something else, something defensive, something, a desperate attempt to convince oneself that what one did was right and justified.
Oppenheimer kept filming with Anwar for the next 5 years, encouraging him to continue reenacting killings in whatever way he wished. And most importantly, he would show the footage back to Anwar.
It was a very simple method. We would shoot one scene, I would screen it back for Anwar. He would respond emotionally, and then would go to the next scene in response to the previous scene.
The result is a nightmarish journey into the psyche of someone who has killed hundreds and possibly thousands of people in grotesque and painful ways. But instead of portraying Anwar as a monster, he becomes humanized. And the film as a whole seems to argue the case that any human, given the right circumstances, is capable of committing horrible acts of evil, and that in order to commit these acts, one must find a way to justify them to oneself. Anwar's friend and fellow executioner, Adi, says it best.
Sekarang misalnya bahwa kasih mati orang itu perbuatan salah perintah. Tapi bagaimana kita membuat cara supaya kita tidak merasa berbuat salah. Kita mesti meyakini satu alasan yang tepat.
After the killing, the Indonesian government created a propaganda film depicting communists as bloodthirsty, evil, and it required all students, from first grade to adults, to watch it once a year. Anwar cites this film as one of the justifications that helped him live with his crimes.
Yang
was the one to violence, not the victims, and only a little fraud causes such justification to collapse.
Iya, kalau aku ada koreksi. Begini, PKI kalau udah kalah, jahanam lah dia. Kan begitu. Jadi semua lah disetel ulang, genjer-genjer. Karena berwanginya tarik telanjang ini segala macam. Ini yang kita pertanyakan. Apa memang begitu?
As Anwar puts himself in the shoes of his victims and feels just a fraction of the fear and powerlessness that they felt, he becomes more and more desperate for a new justification, something to ease the guilt and allow him to sleep at night.
Nggak bisa diulangi. Nggak bisa dua kali.
Apakah
The year is 1999, and 8-year-old me is obsessed with the game
GoldenEye. Load a rumble pack.
So obsessed that I drew pictures of some of the guns and taped them to my 3rd grade desk. When my teacher, Mrs. Sandberg, saw the picture, she nervously told me that we probably shouldn't have pictures of guns on our desk. You know, because of Columbine. This was the first time I heard that word, and I had no idea what it meant. But very quickly, Columbine was all anyone could talk about. The 24-hour news cycle was in its infancy, and this story was a gold mine. People couldn't look away. A report from that time gives us a glimpse into the 90s dystopia that was mainstream media.
They cornered students in the cafeteria and the library, where there was nowhere to run. Witnesses say they laughed as they fired their weapons, executing their classmates who begged for their lives.
Then spontaneously started shooting people.
It's so tone-deaf and disrespectful that it feels like satire. The graphic looks like a movie poster for a bad Tarantino ripoff. Cameras are shoved in the crying, swollen faces of victims after they've just escaped. And news anchors sound like they're describing the plot of Die Hard instead of reporting on a tragedy.
And there were the outfits, the dark coat and boots associated with Hollywood's more violent scenes.
America desperately needed adults in the room, people who could portray tragedy with both compassion and objectivity. We needed an antidote to the callousness of the 24-hour news cycle. We needed the soft hands of an artist.
Do you think it's a little dangerous handing out guns in a bank?
No, an artist.
I thought that drama could do something that maybe the journalists couldn't necessarily get at. You know, it could get someplace that the journalists wanted to, but it was difficult for them to get at.
There we go. The approach needed to be empathetic but not melodramatic, realistic but not callous, violent but not exciting. It needed to proclaim that human tragedy is not for your entertainment. Gus Van Sant had directed Good Will Hunting a few years earlier, a feel-good drama nominated for 9 Academy Awards. He knew how to pull heartstrings and make an entertaining movie. Elephant, on the other hand, was nominated for 0 Academy Awards, but it was appreciated by people who understood the assignment. Roger Ebert wrote, Gus Van Sant's Elephant is a violent movie, in the sense that many innocent people are shot dead, but it isn't violent in the way it presents those deaths. There is no pumped-up style, no lingering, no release, no climax, just implacable, poker-faced, flat, uninflected death. So how did Gus Van Sant accomplish this? And what exactly was this thing he was getting at that journalists couldn't? Elephant creates the subjective experience of being in a school shooting, but it does this through an objective, observational style. For example, 20 minutes of the film, or roughly 25%, consist of follow shots. No dialogue, no drama, just long, uncut shots that follow a character as they walk from one place to another. If you'd like to learn more about follow shots, I highly recommend this video from Film and Media Studies. Empathy with as it's of directing the character. We have shooting style completely flies in the face of the audience. Instead of being drawn into the world through a character's goals and motivations, we're drawn in because we know that this ordinary world is about to be destroyed.
Horrors like Columbine terrify us, and we need an explanation. So even if we don't have an answer, we find one. And we find it really too fast.
After Columbine, everyone wanted to know why. What caused this tragedy, and how can we prevent it from happening again? This is the question that Bowling for Columbine and a slew of other films and books have tried to answer.
It's in our interest to identify the reason why so that we can feel safe, you know. We can identify the reason why so that we can feel that we're not part of it, you know, that it's demonized.
Elephant, on the other hand, does not want you to feel safe.
Hey, you guys.
It wants you to feel what it's like to be in a school shooting. It wants you to experience what happened, not why it happened. And in order to feel what it's like, we need to experience a realistic portrayal of the normal world that existed beforehand. And so instead of using professional actors and working from a script, Vincent casted normal high school students and worked from an outline.
I wouldn't even think that I would ever be in a movie. It's kind of weird because you just look at the people on the screen and you're like, wow, that's awesome. But you never think one day you could be one of those people.
And instead of dictating their motivations and actions, he instead created a realistic high school environment and let the students improvise and react to that environment in long, uncut shots. All of this creates a sense of immersion that you simply don't get in films that skip over the quiet in-between moments in order to focus on plot and character motivation. And this leads us to the most important quality of this film, its use of time and space. Most of the film takes place in the 10 or so minutes leading up to the shooting, but we experience those 10 minutes from various perspectives. What this means is that while we're following one character, we see other characters that we had previously followed. So, for instance, when these three characters cross paths, we experience it 3 different times from 3 different perspectives. Like all of the events in this movie, it doesn't carry any story significance. But I can't emphasize enough that this moment and moments like it are incredibly important for creating immersion. And it does this in several different ways. First, it allows us to form a picture of where each student is located in the moments leading up to the shooting. Second, it gives us a more accurate picture of the layout of the school. Students who have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours walking through their school know exactly where everything is. You can't replicate that amount of knowledge in an hour and a half, but long continuous follow shots that cross each other in time and space give us reference points for forming a mental map of the school. And third, how students interact with each other in these exchanges gives us a picture of the social connections that exist. John, for instance, seems to know everyone, but doesn't belong to any specific group. Even the shooters know him and actually warn him not to go in the school. Eli has fewer social connections, but is well connected in his photography niche. And Michelle seems to have 0 social connections. The only interactions she has are with teachers. If we look at an overhead map of the school, we can actually follow the path of these 3 students and the interactions they have in the moments before the shooting. And all of this leads to the anomaly, the reason the movie exists, and the reason we're watching these mundane interactions. Right before the normal world is destroyed, something interesting happens. The presence of guns feels so out of the ordinary that people have a hard time processing the danger. This failure to process danger was present during the Columbine shooting as well.
I convinced myself that it was paintball, it was a senior prank, and he started spraying the ground in front of us, and you could kind of hear it and see it. And Dan went down, and I felt like a sharp pain in my foot. And then seconds later, maybe at the same time, my knee felt like it went out. And then this knee got hurt, and then it felt like somebody punched me in the chest. And I put my hand up to ask for help. Just figured it was paintball, it hit a nerve, whatever. And he said, "Sure, I'll help you." And I looked up a little bit, and he didn't grab my hand. And so I just laid back down, and he put the shotgun right behind my ear and pulled the trigger.
This reaction feels relatable to me. I think that we all have, to some degree, a refusal to believe that something like this could happen to us. And this makes us disconnect from the event and downplay it. And from the outside looking in, my instinct is to treat it like a problem that needs to be solved. Even writing this now, I catch myself asking, what was their motivation? Why did they do it? but the reason is elusive, like trying to explain why a tornado hits or a volcano explodes.
If we were positive about reasons why we thought this happened specifically, that we'd probably have put them in, but it was always so elusive exactly why, that it's almost like it could be the weather, so we show like the clouds, and it could be madness, so we show him holding his head, and it could be the video games that they're playing, it could be things being thrown at him in the classroom.
A lot of storytellers try to make immoral characters relatable, the tragic anti-hero. If we can understand why, we can forgive what. But there's no justifiable reason to shoot up a school, and that's an uncomfortable position to be in as a storyteller. It's why there are so few films about school shootings and even fewer good ones. How do you tell that story without making it either morbidly entertaining or nihilistically tragic? There's no greater good, no lesson learned, no redemption arc that makes it make sense. But random, senseless violence is a fact of life, a fact we'd rather ignore. And what Elephant gives us, what journalism can't, is the experience of what it feels like to be inside a meaningless tragedy. The recognition that the victims were just like us, that meaningless suffering can happen to anyone. Journalism that diagnoses problems and policy that tries to fix them are essential. I don't want to diminish that work. But if mass shootings are increasing, not decreasing, maybe it's because explaining away a tragedy isn't enough. Sometimes a tragedy needs to be witnessed. Sometimes it needs to be felt. And the victims, and yes, even the perpetrators, need to be seen as people, as one of us. Because there's really no reason why it couldn't be you.
Well. Who it is?
Dude, come on, don't do this.
Mimi?
Stupid fuck.
Meanie.
What are you doing?
Miney? Catch it?
Something you want to do.
Tiger.
Yes, it's to be witnessed. Recognition, what it feels, learned. How do you shoot a weak bull? What? That's a cool shit. Is recognition that the one are essential. I don't want to diminish that work because explaining away sometimes it needs to be as people, as one of us. Because there's really no reason why it couldn't be you.
Well. Who it is?
Dude, come on, don't do this.
Mimi?
Stupid fuck.
Meanie.
What are you doing?
Miney?
Catch
Catch it?
Something you want to do.
Tiger. By his toe. If he hollers, let him
Sick.
go.
Don't do this.
Eeny, meeny, miny.
It's a Gundam. He's just a piece of crap.
I saw this tweet on Twitter that I found interesting from some conservative chick.
At 16, boys used to want to be men. They lied about their age and stormed the beaches in Normandy.
Then they were cut in half by the MG-42, arguably the machine gun that changed the world.
Now men in their 30s can't even commit to a woman who loves them.
As a man who's had a lot of experience with this, let me tell you, every woman I ever loved enough to want to put a ring on it left me for a dude that was at least 6 feet tall or more, a recovering alcoholic or drug addict or both. So, you know.
hate me for this, but I unfortunately think it's true. In dating, I think it's very appropriate and necessary for women to have a roster. More accurately, I think it's important for women to rotationally date, meaning they're going on dates with several men at a time. Whereas for
men, I believe it's really important to focus on one girl.
It's a joke. It's all a joke.
What are you doing? Subscribe right now. Join the Gundo army.
Obey my dog!
Boys once fought to become men. Today, men fight to stay boys.
Well, when you have a society that infantilizes women while, you know, constantly emasculating men.
The astrogators gave us a shot! Get a hold of yourself.
In this day and age, it's hard to get a stable job. You're competing with AI, not to mention the housing crisis that's so ridiculously expensive. Like, on what planet does any guy look at anything going on now and go, oh yeah, I could have a nice house and a family? There's so many variables that are just so insurmountable. It's like, what, the trials of Hercules? It was the 10 labors of Hercules. Navigate thottery, navigate the failing economy, society, random wars, taxes, housing crisis, identity crisis. I could go on forever.
I also forgot to mention those weird trends of where it's like most chicks in the 30s today for those most attractive and single. They're usually on the spice site, so that's in the mix too. And whenever you talk to these girls, they act as if they're like business owners and entrepreneurs. She's selling buffalo pictures, but in her mind, she's wearing something. I just have thirsty on my miserable soul.
Stop out!
Men in the 1930s and 40s were not competing with women that cared more about online social media and cloud stealing to as many people as possible on a brain rot app called TikTok or Twitch than they do about something else in life. Case in point.
I'm kind of stressed.
The war is far from over.
I'm really stressed because Halloween is the day before the subathon. So I obviously wanted to go to Virginia with Valentina. So I want to go to Colorado, but it's the day before the subathon. So I would need to prepare.
You got the fire alarm that's got a low battery chirping in the background. And this chick is literally having a conundrum whether to spin Halloween for her daughter and trick-or-treat, but she's also worried about the subathon from Twitch, I guess. I don't know what the hell this is. Isn't it all month? Does it matter?
So it's so annoying. And I can't go home right now because it's Mary's birthday on Wednesday. I would have already been home, but it's Mary's birthday on Wednesday. She's having a birthday party, which I will be streaming. But it's just a lot, guys. It's so much. It's like stressing me out. But I'm thinking I'm just gonna fly to trick or treat with her on Thursday morning. Trick or treat, come back.
Even her own chat, I'm seeing a lot of people like, just go. Yeah, you gotta, can you believe this? This chick wants to fly to her daughter, the one in another state, to trick or treat, and fly back in time for subathon on Twitch. This is insane. So, let's just say that men don't want to commit. What is there to commit to in instances like this? As a man, we're naturally inclined to commit to things. We don't want to change our damn wallet. We don't want to change the guy who cuts our hair. We don't change our friends. Women go through friends like they change clothes. Oh my God. I don't know how many times I've been around a chick and she's just like, this is my best friend, Caroline. And I'm like, what happened to Jessie? Jessie thought she was cute. Jessie did this and this. I'm like, how many best friends have you had in your life? I can only say I've had 2 best friends at most, not counting my dog.
I don't know. This is so stressful. Find her out? Should I trick or treat here? But then the only thing about that is like I'm gonna be so focused on her being here, and then I'm gonna be focused on this. And my brain, I'm just a girl.
It makes more sense if you had a kid, or 2 of them, to fly the other kid out so you can trick or treat with both your kids. So I think the person whose birthday she's worried about streaming is some other Twitch guy. Like, Jesus H. Christ. And she's like, oh, no, this is so stressful. This is the height of her stress, my dudes. Whether she can live stream to Google for November Subfest in time if she takes her kid trick-or-treating. This is your child, for Christ's sake. This could be one of the core memories for your daughter that will be important in her life that she'll look back on fondly. For the love of God, don't waste it on Twitch where it's like,
well, my mom couldn't come out to go trick-or-treating with me because she had to do 7th on November in another state. Oh, well, you know, that's why I'm now dancing at shenanigans.
I'm just a girl, guys. My brain isn't supposed to be working this hard.
This is the biggest conundrum of her day, her week, her life. And that is just one of many tales. The point is, in the modern age, the modern woman is a little bit more of a pain in the ass than the women of yesteryear. When you factor in the obsession with social media and how easily they can be influenced by trends, saying that a man isn't good enough, you need a man to do better, or the fact that they want to be content creators, and that word has such a broad term now after the spicy sites, what does it leave the average man? On top of that, let's face it, marriage rates are just in the toilet. You have over a 50% chance of your marriage ending, and all divorces, not all, but 84 or 5% of divorces are initiated by women. Once again, what's there to commit to? Leave you, take your house, and make it hard for you to see your kids. Men can commit, but the options they have to commit to aren't very promising or fair. Oh well, I guess men just need to suck it up, huh?
He's out of line, but he's right.
I would want to come to America too. I would. I would want more than anything to come to America. And so, like, and why is it? Well, it's because you can get a job here. They are the ones that are enabled. They create the carrot. So if you don't go after the people making the carrots, then you're never going to solve this problem. Everyone's following that incentive though? Yeah. Do it the legal way though? Well, yeah, of course, right? Like you can, am I crazy for saying that? Like I can totally empathize and see why illegal aliens come here. Of course it makes sense. Absolutely. But it's really on the government and it's on these businesses to hold these people accountable.
So contrary to what they want you to think, they aren't just shaking down.
Also, what's important in mind is that the people that are doing this, it's about stopping the behavior. Because ultimately the goal shouldn't be putting people in jail. It should be making a behavior stop happening. And until you hold people personally responsible for hiring these people intentionally and not vetting them intentionally so they can, plead ignorance, then it's just going to keep happening.
Random brown people in the streets. It seems they're going after specific criminals that haven't turned themselves in, then collecting anybody also undocumented that they discover collaterally.
Yeah, it's AoE damage. You go after one person that's like some sort of a predator or whatever, and there's like 4 other people around them that are also illegal. Well, shouldn't have been.
Also exposes their force, but knowingly employing them and potentially others.
Yeah.
As the Trump administration has already handed out millions of dollars of fines for.
Not enough. Put them in jail. Put them in jail for human trafficking. This will stop overnight. Fines don't work. Fines are nice, and they're, like a traffic fine, speeding or whatever. Okay. But you've got to put people in prison. You can't put a business in jail, that's the issue. There is somebody who made the decision not to vet these people. You find out who that person is at the company, and you arrest that person, and you put them in jail. It's the owner. The reason why businesses do these practices that are consumer unfriendly is because they think that they're safe. How to make them stop doing the practices? Take away the safety. It's that simple. Again, everything is about incentives.
So someone with a warrant could have used the CBP app to self-deport, get a free ride home, and receive $1,000. But instead, they'll send a couple of their friends home with them. But when the local news outlets report on it, the outrage only seemed to face ICE. As they called it, people in military tactical gear, playing like they're in Afghanistan, just screwing with people on a nice Friday. Although they did indeed detain 2 of the workers and the restaurant couldn't open for dinner after.
Man,
so maybe there was a
too
reason
bad.
they went after that specific restaurant, but they conveniently made that the smallest part of their report.
Yep.
So now more of these fools are contributing to the problem.
Just watched, listened to the ICE raid.
You're a business owner. Do you really want business owners to be personally liable for anything their business does? Well, that's literally what I just said. Yeah, what do you mean? Would I, like, yes, obviously. Because I think that they're ignoring it on purpose. I think that they know that these people, like, here's the question. Do you think that the people that are running these companies and running these restaurants know that the people they're employing are illegal? I think the answer to that is yes. How do you prove intent? Well, with an investigation. You investigate their correspondence. You look at whether they were doing due diligence to make sure that these people were actually American citizens. You see if they had any communication with this person that would indicate that they knew that they were an illegal alien. And then after you do that, you find out whether they're guilty or not. And then if they are, you put them in jail. It's really simple. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's yeah, what do you mean?
San Diego, the Italian restaurant, where they took the manager, workers,
check their paychecks,
and the people stepped up and surrounded the ICE, which was great because they did not show a warrant to anybody.
General Manager Renato Amatrano says agents provided a warrant and scanned everyone's IDs.
Got me shit. We need to start carrying wire cutters. Carry wire cutters in our pocket. Doesn't take up much room. Yeah, you can use them for zip ties, but you can also use them for valve stems on tires.
That's crazy that you have, again, another fucking boomer that's actively insinuating that you should cut off the valves and the tires of government vehicles. That's nuts. So causing an accident? Yeah. And this is the problem, is that people like this are so cavalier and they feel so safe being able to say stuff like this and promote this type of violent behavior. And this is why things are getting worse. The reason why things are getting worse is because people won't call this out for what it is and hold these people accountable. And because of that, things escalate and they get worse as a result. Like, you could have stopped this from being a problem years ago, but you didn't do that because you were afraid of the pushback. And now it's become an even bigger problem, and there's going to be even more pushback. Cash Patel and Dan Wingo need to go after these people? Yeah. They feel emboldened because the media protects them? Well, the media's not the government. Media can't do shit.
I really believe he thinks he's some sort of crafty freedom fighter, but I'm pretty certain he just committed a felony, as hyper-left Reddits also went in on the situation, writing long mod posts complaining about how many resources went into this, saying, if it can happen to us, it can happen to you again.
That's right, guys. If somebody gets arrested for committing a crime, we shouldn't let that happen, because you too could also get arrested even though you're not committing a crime. What a retarded logic. That's so stupid. As a liberal, these things make me sick. These people are deranged. They do not represent my values as a liberal. Then push back against it more. Because the problem is that this is defining their entire platform.
More fear-mongering, trying to rally their base into action, as there were plenty of posts thanking the people blocking the cops. But then an awful lot of body shaming, talking about them being
fat gravy seals. So brave with their masks.
The Gravy Seals, which is rich coming from Reddit, as they're likely singling out this specific topper, who is admittedly large, but more of a...
I feel like that's a pretty big, like, I wouldn't fuck with that guy. I'm gonna be honest, like, I would not fuck with that. That's a big guy. Yeah, I mean, that's not, like... There's, like, yeah, this is a linebacker. Like, this is not, I don't know, man.
The lineman build than anything. As if I was assembling a squad, I'd take him over.
I mean, like, yes, of course, obviously, the furries and femboys on Reddit don't understand that. But yes, there are guys that are heavier, but they're in shape.
Any of these idiots screeching with their phones out. Just because the police show restraint doesn't mean they're afraid. And how they're pounding on their chests as if they actually accomplish anything other than increasing the amount of police resources that will be spent on the next raid. As all across the country, work sites like the one in Florida are being raided as well.
Yep.
With the local Florida outlets doing montages of woman crime.
Yeah, could not hold.
I am so glad that we are past the point of giving a fuck about some woman crying about some shit. Wow, I'm so sad that my illegal alien husband is being deported after being here, probably committing identity theft and other forms of fraud, and illegally entering the country. Wow, what a fucking shame. This is such a tragedy. Too bad.
Back for pain. She screams injustice after her husband was placed on an expedited deportation order after showing up to his immigration check-in in Miami. Immigration court attorney Antonio Ramos tells us this is now the new normal.
What I've been seeing is, out of that few people, most of them, they have crimes, previous crimes.
Where this man's wife also got...
How is it that somebody gets charged, they're found out to be an illegal alien, and they don't just get immediately deported the moment that they get in the cop station? Like, I don't understand. How does this happen? This is the most retarded thing I've ever heard.
Detained, which is an incredibly sad scene. But kinda deranged how Twitter users shoved the camera in the husband's face, with Reddit highlighting how the kid was crying. They really think if we see something sad enough, the country's just gonna forget it has
Yeah,
law.
guys, if don't you see this photo of this kid crying? We can't have laws anymore. They're gonna make this kid cry. Yeah, we can't have borders. Look at this sad family. It's emotional manipulation? Yeah, it is. It's blatant emotional manipulation that's done to cater to the lowest common denominator of the mentally, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. The mentally incapable. It's bad emotional manipulation? Yeah. It's just more emotional blackmail. Yep. Do not care. Pause.
But after the Maryland man fiasco turned out to be a dangerous gang member, the general public doesn't know what to believe anymore. And the montages of crying families just feels manipulative, as this is the same exact boy they tried to use back in 2019 when they cried outside empty cages in a white suit, but said absolutely nothing about the hundreds of thousands of missing kids during the Biden administration, where even when the reporting tried to downplay the story, they admitted the missing kids are at risk. They just can't suggest that all the missing kids are in danger. So good to
Not all of them are in danger. Only some of them.
know they have a certain percentage of acceptable losses that only exists when Trump isn't in office. But now that he is, once he tries to fix it, places like New York City will also try to block ICE.
You will be placed under arrest and charged with disorderly conduct. This is the New York City Police Department. You are unemployed in the roadway. Since you have refused to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest.
There we go. All right. This is what you love to see. Okay, yep, just arrest them and get rid of them. We need bigger prisons? I think so.
On the charge of disorderly conduct.
And in Boston,
I feel like a lot of these people are unemployed anyway, so if we put them in jail and then gave them a job to do in jail that they had to do, like, wouldn't this kind of solve two problems, right? I mean, number one, you wouldn't have to deal with them. Number two, they get work experience. I feel like this is a win-win situation. Yeah, this is really good.
people are bragging about stopping them on social media.
Remember,
are you trying to bring back slavery? No, this isn't slavery.
You are the major power in your community. If you show up with people you trust quickly, you can protect kids, you can protect families. So form information networks, know where I live in your community, and show up. They will just leave. They are not brave enough to steal kids when an entire community comes around to protect them.
Not even aware who they are protecting.
I said they were surveilling a murderer's home in their car when a crowd surrounded their vehicle, blew their cover, and they had to pull off the target. Again, a murderer.
This is when
none of this will ever change until the people that are making the calls to find out and surround the car aren't being put in jail. And I hope the government knows this. You are doing literally nothing. Because you're not solving the disease, you're only treating the symptoms. You need to cure the disease. And the disease is that these people think that they can do this and get away with it. That's it. Give them accessory to murder? Yeah. Yeah, just give them something insane. And then it would immediately stop. Prison space that fits regulations is at an all-time low. Didn't change the regulations. Seems pretty simple to me.
Identity politics gets dangerous. Assuming police are always bad and their targets are always good is something only criminals and people that blissfully think they'll never be victimized will believe. So where exactly are they getting this idiotic ideology? From their political leaders, like this Tennessee state representative.
It's great. We got our girl squad and we're moving to So this is a win.
There are two groups of people in the world that cause all of our problems. Every single time. It's actually impressive.
Your favorite blonde favorite. So they're probably running our information.
But even Congress people in New Jersey were doing the same. Where apparently she even shoved an ICE officer. But now
this is a fucking insane crash out. And assaulting law enforcement. Yes, finally getting charged. Thank God. Yeah, prisons are private. Build one. Wait, you're right. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, so we can
repeat your success.
Call it Roach Ranch. Oh shit.
Now is being charged for assault. And even Congressman Nadler's staffer was seen being arrested for allegedly harboring someone. So I really wonder how long they'll gleefully display their defiance when their friends all start getting jail sentences. As it sounds scary that this administration would start throwing politicians in prison, but they brought it up
It's not scary. It's justified. If you break the law and you do something wrong and you're tried and convicted for it, then you should go to jail. It's that simple. It's wanted even, and I think this is a universal perspective. There's a lot of Democrats that felt that was unfair for Trump because they thought Trump should have gotten in more trouble for things that he did. And I think that there's a lot of Republicans and conservatives that feel like Democrats should have gotten in trouble for things that they did too, like for Hunter Biden, for example. And so this is something that everybody wants. I don't know why it doesn't happen. In all seriousness, do you really think that they should bring back prison labor? Yeah. Yeah, I do. If you can, I'm a big advocate for this. I think it's a great idea. So if you're putting these people in jail, why wouldn't you put them to work? Why not? If you can't, like, really, why? Like, I mean, do you see how problematic that is? Well, wait a minute. Let me read your message. What about it's problematic? Yeah, I'm confused. Yeah, well, because to me it seems like it seems like everybody wins. It seems like a perfect solution. Force them to make Apple iPhones. Ooh, China's not gonna like that. Actually, I don't think they make those in China anymore. Yeah, I don't know where the fuck they make them. Yeah, counter-argument research El Salvador does it. Things are fine. No, I mean, there's a lot of ways I would look at it. But let me go back. I can find it. It incentivizes arrests. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think more people should be arrested for crimes. I mean, after you see all these people that are running wild and doing all kinds of crazy stuff that are in the public, yeah, that's the point. I think work programs are really good, but working at a prison so they can make money is bad. Why is it bad for the prison to make them work so they can pay for the prison? So you have to pay rent for your house. You have to pay a mortgage for your house. You have to pay rent for an apartment. You have to pay, like a nightly fee if you're staying at a hotel. Why is it like, where is this where it doesn't make sense? Uninformed, but that's what I've heard. Well, no, I'm just, it's a slippery slope. I know, that's the goal. Well, that's the goal, right? I mean, obviously that's the goal. Because that's how you get arrested for a small-time crime and get jacked up sentences so you make them more money. Well, you realize they're doing that already, right? And also, like, so the logic here is that if you can't make it, like, these prisons already get money for prisoners to begin with. And also, I mean, should these people not be in jail? Like, obviously, yeah, there's going to be people, like, so you're saying that people that are wrongfully convicted or unfairly convicted are going to have to do something bad. There's people that are unfairly convicted right now in jail. This is already happening. Like, we're talking about hypotheticals. Yeah, how many people really is this happening, right? I mean, like, sure. Yeah, maybe this will happen to a handful of people. Definitely. I mean, there's always going to be collateral damage. Like, anytime that you have a rule or anytime you have a law or anything like that, you're always going to have collateral damage. Like, there's going to be people that are unfairly affected by something, no matter what it is, right? You know, you raise the speed limit somewhere. You know, this probably might, you know, result in more accidents, but does that mean you shouldn't raise the speed limit? You know, freedom of speech causes problems, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have it. Every law has people that get in trouble for it. Yeah, and I find that bad. I'm in a prison. That prison should be reformed, not animal penitentiary. I don't think that prison should be for reform or for punishment. I think prison should simply be a way to keep people out of public. Because really, the goal that I have, I don't think about what's in the best interest of the prisoners. That's kind of irrelevant to me. What matters to me is what's in the best interest of the population, of the society. And so if you think about what's in the best interest of the prisoners, that's nice. But when you thinking about their best interests causes the taxpayers and society to spend more money, to be less safe, I think that you are being completely unfair. And I think that you're doing something that's unethical and also immoral. Whenever you make innocent people pay and suffer more,